Hey everybody, welcome back to another model kit review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the real grade Eva Unit 0 from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Real quick before we get into the video, I gotta give a shout out to my sponsor for this video, Galactic Toys. They sent me this kit for free, so a big thank you goes out to them. If you guys are looking to pick up one of these for yourself, or if you're looking for any models, model supplies, paints, tools, whatever you could think of, chances are you can find it at Galactic Toys and you can get there with the link down in the description. And if you decide to pick something up, you can always use code YSG10 to get yourself an extra 10% off. Thanks again to Galactic Toys for sponsoring this video and continuing to support me and my channel. Anyways, with that being said, let's get on to the review. So the Real Grade Evangelion Unit 2 is the second kit to come out in Bandai's Eva Real Grade line. However, this is not Bandai's first time dipping their toes into the sweet LCL of the Evangelion franchise. In fact, Bandai's first perfect grade ever was the Evangelion Unit 1, and having built both of them myself and comparing the two, Bandai's come a long way. The release of the Real Grade Evangelion Unit 1 solidified this line as the best Evangelion kits Bandai has put out to date, and Unit 0 definitely continues the line with just as much quality. I mean, granted, it is basically the exact same build as Unit 1 with a few minor differences, but hey, it's still a good kit, right? The build of this kit was unique and very fun. Given the fact that it shares virtually no similarities with any of the Gundams out there, the Real Grade Evangelion kits are certainly fun and interesting builds to undertake when the regular Gundams start getting a little samey. And when you're all done with the build, the finished product is amazing. The color separation on this thing is just beautiful, and I don't know what kind of witchcraft they have going on over at Bandai, but they were somehow able to replicate a muscular look and a humanoid range of articulation using only plastic parts. The unique shape, feel, and motion of this kit is what makes it really fun to handle and play around with. However, once you start handling it, that's when the problems start to show up. This piece on top of the head is super loose. The shoulders come loose really easily, and if you push them together, these parts on the inner shoulders kind of come apart, at least for me, so I'm not sure what's up with that. The connection at the bicep is pretty loose, and this tiny part right here loves to fall off, so make sure to keep an eye on that. There's actually a lot of little parts in this kit that you definitely do not want to lose, so make sure to pay attention and keep your eye on what you're building. I mean, you definitely wouldn't want to set down a part and lose it forever and never see it again, right? That would just be terrible. I mean, I'm really glad I've never done anything like that. Now, I know I don't usually throw all my gripes together about a kit in one segment in the first few minutes of my video, but it's my channel, so I can do what I want and you have to deal with it. Anyways, the last thing I really have to complain about this kit is these hips. These things are terrible. What is this? Somebody at Bandai really said, you know what we should do? We should make the hip joint lock in place by rotating it upward. And I mean, that's fine. It was a pain in the ass to assemble, but I mean, it works up until you get to the point where you actually connect the legs to it. Because guess what the legs do? They rotate forward and backward when you try to pose it. And what happens when you rotate the legs? The center leg joint comes with it, and you can actually have a chance of dislodging it and having to put it back in all over again. I'm not making this up. I don't know if this has happened to other people, but this has happened to me multiple times, and it's a pain in my ass. Sorry if I got a little angry there, bitching about model kits is cheaper than therapy. So now that we've gotten all of the bad stuff out of the way, we can spend the rest of the video focusing on the good stuff, and thankfully there is a lot of good stuff to talk about. Overall, the things I complained about don't even really make this thing a nightmare to handle. It's just minor annoyances to me. And of course, all those loose parts can easily just be fixed up with a little bit of plastic cement. Just make sure to do it in a well-ventilated area where you don't smell the fumes, so that way you don't end up like me in a month-long coma where you can't work on or upload any videos. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm just really good at procrastinating. Sorry about the hiatus. Anyways, like I said earlier, this thing has incredible color separation. Seriously, no stickers on this thing at all. I did put some of the reflective real grade decals on in the inner frame, but those are few and far between, and they're not for color accuracy anyways. There are some panel lines throughout the build if you want to add some extra detail. I did not do any panel lining on this one, so to clarify, this is what the kit will look like straight out of the box. However, if you have more free time and artistic integrity than I do, I encourage you to panel line. And as far as seam lines go on this kit, well, there's not really any. There's kind of one on the back of the leg here, and that's really about it. It's always nice to see minimal seam lines on a kit no matter who you are, and Bandai's been doing an increasingly good job of making sure the seam lines are hidden in the finished products. So good for them, and I hope they keep it up going forward. Moving on, let's take a look at all the accessories that come with this kit, and as you can see, we do have a lot to talk about. I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier, but this is the DX set, which comes with everything. If you happen to buy the standard version, you're not going to get everything you see here, which really the only extra thing that you get with the DX version is the positron rifle and the extra decals and this little shoulder adapter for Unit 1. Everything else you see here will come standard though. Taking a closer look at the accessories, first up we have the umbilical cord. The detail on it is really nice, but my favorite part has to be the wire itself. It's very thick, durable, durable, and it can hold any pose that you put it in. To attach it, simply plug in the connector bit to the hole in the back of the kit, and as you can see, it looks pretty good when it's plugged in. Up next, we have the entry plug, and if you haven't seen Evangelion, this is basically the cockpit for the pilots of the Evas. Now, this thing does have a decal that goes on it to make it look a little bit less plain. However, if you think I'm going to attempt to put that thing on this tiny little piece, you're insane. In order to insert the entry plug into the Eva, all you have to do is tilt the head forward, pop this out, slide this back, and flip this upward. Pop the entry plug in and repeat the process in reverse to close everything back up. Once it's in, you can't really tell a difference from the outside, but it is a pretty nice gimmick that they included. Up next, we have a ton of different expressive and holding hands, so let's take a look at these. We have open grabby hands, wider open hands, less wide open hands, trigger finger hands, these flat style hands which look really good in a running pose but can also be used for
dynamic karate chopping action.
We also get knife holding hands which also look like thumbs up, so that's cool. And we get a pair of fists. Up next, we have the pallet rifle, and this thing looks great. The colors, the detail on it, everything is basically perfect. There's no moving parts or any gimmicks to this, but as you can see, there is some nice color separation. I did put the silver real grade decal here, but this ammo strip here is its own separate piece, and I believe this is also the only difference from Unit 1's pallet rifle. To attach it to Unit 0, we need the trigger finger hand, and that just gets sandwiched in between the two halves of the hand just like that. And this is what Unit 0 will look like holding the pallet rifle. Next up, we have the progressive knives, and there are two different kinds, one collapsed and one extended, and there are two of each in the box. I personally think Bandai could have gotten away with making a knife that just folds instead of making two different parts, but it's not really that big of a deal. Also, we do get decals to put on the edges of the knives to give them a shiny finish. To equip the knife, you just need the knife holding hand and sandwich it right in there. This is what the Unit 0 looks like when holding the progressive knife, and I really like this. It does look very natural and nice in the hand. Next up, we have the option parts for the body of the Unit 0. These are for converting it into the Unit 0 repaired form, I believe. I could be wrong because I've never watched the rebuilds, but if I am, I'm sure I'll get a million comments telling me otherwise. Now, one personal gripe I kind of have with this kit is this thing definitely was not made to be easily swapped between option part sets. You're really just supposed to pick which one you want to build and then build it that way and leave it that way. Of course, for the sake of the review, I am going to show off both forms. It's just that these parts don't want to come off. Yeah, I'm giving up. I'm not doing this shit on camera. Something to note when you take off the Eva's armor is that you can actually see the Eva Core inside the chest right here. This is a pretty cool little feature, but it is completely covered by the armor. I totally forgot it was in there, and you probably will too after building this. So after about 5 to 10 minutes of painstakingly removing all the old armor and putting the new ones back on, this is what the Eva Unit 0 repaired form will look like. Now I gotta say, I definitely do really like this mode more than the other one because I love those shoulder pylons. And I think the design of the chest on the repaired version just looks a little bit cooler. However, the shoulders on this one are a little too loose for my liking. They're not floppy, but they are loose. I also do kind of miss that white on gray contrast that we got on the thighs of the old version. Overall though, visually, this mode is my favorite. Now, remember the folded up knife from a couple minutes ago? Now that we have the shoulder pylons attached, we can open this up and store that folded knife right in there like that. You can see that sits nice and flush in there, and actually, I don't know how to get this out now, so that's in there forever. Last up for the accessories are the DX set exclusives, which is the Eva Unit 1 shoulder adapter and the main feature, which is the positron cannon. There's actually not much to say about either of these really. The shoulder adapter is literally what it says it is. It's a shoulder adapter for the real grade Eva 01 that allows it to be used with the positron cannon. I don't have the real grade Eva 01, nor do I plan on ever getting one to use with the positron cannon, so I won't be using this. And I can't really demonstrate it for you guys on camera. And for the positron cannon itself, yes, it does look really good, but there's still not a whole lot to say about it. It has no moving parts and it has no gimmicks. However, as with the rest of the kit, the color separation and surface details are very, very nice. And here's what the real grade Eva Unit 0 will look like when using the positron cannon. Now, when you think about real grades, you generally think of them being about 5 inches tall, and normally you're not wrong. However, the real grade Eva kits are the exception to that rule because these things are surprisingly very tall for real grade kits. Between the TV show and the multiple movies, I believe the cannon size and height of the Evas varies wildly. So I think that these models are actually non-scale, instead of being in the traditional 1/144th scale like most real grades are. So for a quick size comparison, here's the real grade Eva Unit 0 next to a Mountain Dew can, the Gundam Micro Wars Sharazaku, high grade Gym Command Space, real grade RX-78-2, and the perfect grade Eva Unit 1. Moving on to the articulation, the head is on a ball joint. It can rotate 360 degrees, it can look up that far, and can look down that far. And if you notice, when we move the neck, you can see these different parts move around and separate to kind of create this pseudo-organic moving parts look. This is also done in multiple other parts of the build, and I'll show those off in a minute as we go through this. The shoulders sit on a butterfly joint, and let me actually take off the shoulder pylons right there so we can get a better look at that. There's that butterfly joint again without the shoulder pylons. Arms can move out that far. Slight rotation at the bicep, not a full spin. Not sure if this is intentional, but we do have a second rotation point at the lower bicep. Very nice arm bend right here. The hands are on a ball joint and can be spun around 360 degrees. You can push them into the wrist further to kind of lock them in place, and what this will do is when you turn the wrist, the outer plating on the forearm will move with it. This is another one of the examples of that pseudo-organic moving parts kind of thing that we looked at on the neck. It does limit the range of motion when rotating the wrist, but if you want a full rotation, you can just pull them out again. Now, in the torso area here, it's actually pretty complex. We have 3, maybe 4, I can't exactly remember, joints in here, and they all allow for a little bit of an individual side-to-side rotation, and because of all these joints, we get a very nice back bend and an amazing ab crunch. Moving on down to the legs, we have some not that great splits here. However, it definitely makes up for that with the kick to the front, which is basically straight up and down. And here's the kick to the back as well. We also get a very nice knee bend, and if you notice, this little piece of thigh armor pops up. This is another example of those moving muscular looking parts. We get a little bit of movement at the knee right here. The ankle armor sits on a ball joint. We get a nice toe bend here, foot all the way up and foot all the way down, and we get a decent pivot. So that is going to just about do it for the review of the Real Grade Evangelion Unit 1 DX set. This kit turned out to be really good in my opinion. I enjoyed the build, and the finished product is really fun to handle, and it looks incredible. It's a very faithful and a very solid, for the most part, recreation of the Eva Unit 0 from the anime. I hope that one day Bandai does release a blue version from the TV show instead of just the yellow version from the rebuilds, but for now this version is just as good. Due to all the small parts and some finicky parts during the assembly, I can't really say I would recommend this to an absolute beginner, maybe somebody who's built a real grade before or a couple of high grades and master grades, but then again, this kit isn't too hard that anyone really is going to struggle with it too much. Again, I want to thank Galactic Toys for sending me this kit and for sponsoring my channel, and if you've made it this far, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I will be doing more model kit and Gunpla reviews just like this one in the future. Thanks again for watching, I hope you enjoyed the review, and until next time, this has been UC Gundam signing out.
I wish that I could turn back time.